Welcome back everyone to another video, and in this one we'll continue our discussion about the software developments and in general developments on the HiKey 960. And today's topic is UEFI. So UEFI, or Unified Extendable Firmware Interface, is basically a replacement for the legacy bootloader, and just to make it a bit more advanced, a bit more interactive, and uh, very much more powerful. So what you see in modern laptops or even your desktops, where you have a graphical user interface based UEFI or bootloader, that is what we are talking about. But it doesn't only come in the graphical format, we do have pseudo graphical format. So this was a long time coming for the HiKey 960. It was planned and it was being worked on very hard, and it's finally here. It's not an official release, but they have the sources out and they have the builds out of a working UEFI bootloader on the HiKey 960. Now again, it does come with some difficulties, like we don't yet have a graphical output from the HDMI port, and so we cannot access that. It is only over the UART, and we'll go ahead and see that. Now it wasn't easy to go ahead and flash it, since there is little explanation on to do that, and it hasn't been made extremely easy. It wasn't a one-click solution definitely, but there were guides, and I was really helped by people on the bugs.96board.org website, as well as on the forum relating to this issue. So a big shout out to them, and let's go ahead and without further ado, go ahead and take a look at it working on the HiKey 960. So what we'll do is, first of all, open up Telnet. Now Telnet is basically like Minicom, where you can, one of the functionalities is that you can go ahead and connect to a UART port over a UART to USB converters, and that will actually enable you to get the UART output. Now for some reason Minicom doesn't really work well with the pseudo GUI of the UEFI bootloader on the HiKey 960, and so we are using Telnet. So let's go ahead and boot up the 960 and see how it goes. So that's the 960 booting up, and we have entered the UEFI firmware boot. Now from this point I have 10 seconds to press the escape key, and this will end up booting on the UEFI menu. Now this is a very minimal version of what you would see on a regular desktop PC. So we have device manager, which is right now empty. I'm expecting it to be populated at some point, and also at some point we'll get PCI support, so I guess that devices will all be listed here as well. So let's go ahead and back up to boot manager, and this is where you can go ahead and boot into different boot devices. So right now we have working is Grub, Android Boot, and Android Fastboot. Now this is really cool. Every time you need to flash a new image, instead of going on and flicking a switch at the back of the 960 and rebooting it again and again, and it's a very tiny switch, it's not easy to flick, you have to go in there with a toothpick or something. This makes it very easy to, I can just go ahead to Android Fastboot, press enter, and it will boot in Fastboot mode. That's it. To go back, I can press the enter key again, and here I am back at the UEFI boot menu. Simple as that. So let's, before booting it into Grub, let's go ahead and see some more stuff. Pressing escape, I go back to boot maintenance manager. Here, like any other UEFI bootloader, I can add boot options, delete them, and change the boot order, so I can have the fast boot booting up every time, and Grub being a secondary option. So again we'll go back and look at some other options. So we have the option, some console based option which I'm not sure about. We can boot from a file on the device. So if we have a .efi file, we can directly boot from there. And then we have some more driver options, which again I'm not extremely sure what that is at this point. So Let's go ahead and boot from Grub. And yes, we have Grub this time. In our previous builds, even if it was Android or the regular builds of Open Embedded, we did not have that. We had direct boot. So Fastboot and CE reference platform, and that is our Open Embedded build. So let's go ahead, press enter. This should boot up pretty fine. Again, this is pretty much the same build, not a lot is working right now, including USB and HDMI, both of which aren't. So we can simply log in with root, and then a uname A would suggest that we are in fact running kernel 4.9, which is pretty dope. And htop, I guess, works with our regular htop user interface. And again, it really impresses me every time I see 8 cores there. So that is about it. We can quit htop and then do a simple reboot from here, and we'll go back into our UEFI bootloader. So that was about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content, and a short video on an update on the HiKey960. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.